Michael Newman. I've worked at Summerhill for about 15. I'm now a house parent at Summerhill. First of all, Summerhill has a timetable. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day of the week, the teachers provide lessons. At the beginning of term, the children who are older, the children who are roughly sort of 12 to 17, can sign up, which means that they go to different classes and they see different teachers and they say to the teacher, I want to study this science or maths or history or geography or languages that they want to study at that term. And the teacher will take the names of the children and put them into groups according to their age or what level they want to learn at. And then the teachers within a day of the signing up, or 2 days, will create a new timetable for the whole school that will start that term.
So every takes 11 weeks.
And the timetable lasts for the whole term, which is between 10 and 12 weeks is the whole term. And at the beginning of every term, we create a new timetable, and it's called Sign Up. Now, the younger kids don't do sign up. The younger kids have their own classrooms. So there's class 1 for the 5 to 10-year-olds. There's class 2 for the 10 to 12-year-olds. And they will have lessons with the expert teachers, but the expert teachers, the specialist teachers, will work in partnership with the class teacher. So the class 1 teacher, Pascal, will work with the drama teacher or the science teacher, and they will do lessons specifically for her classroom at certain times of the day or certain parts of the week. The same with class 2, but also with class 2, the children can do individual sign-up lessons if they get permission. So they can go and do history, or they can go and do specifically with specialist teachers. So in a sense, we all teach all the children, but the oldest children have individual timetables. The timetables of the class 1 and 2 are created in partnership with their class 1 and class 2 teachers and the rest of the school. The children don't have to go to lessons. So even though they have a timetable, and it's one of the issues, in fact, some teachers who are new to the school think that our children are learning how to fail, because they think that the children who sign up are signing up to do lessons, and then if they don't go to a single lesson, then what have they learnt? They've learnt that they've signed up, but they haven't gone. I don't agree with this. I believe that when children sign up at Summerhill, they sign for the opportunity to go to lessons. That they're not saying, I will go. They're saying, I want the opportunity to go, and it's up to the school to create that opportunity. And if the children take it or not is neither positive nor negative. It's up to them how they decide what they want to do with their timetable. But some teachers think that if kids sign up and then don't go at all, that's a negative thing. And I disagree with them. I think it totally depends on why and what the child wants.
So. Anyway, there is a different opinion about that.
There is, and it's normally, and in a sense, it's affected the discussions about, because I used to create the timetable, I don't anymore. When I created the timetable, every child had a right to their lessons. And it didn't matter if for a whole year, that every time they signed up and not gone. And some teachers would say, no, this child's never been to a lesson. So they don't have, you can give them less priority, yeah? In a sense, you can put them on the timetable last, yeah? And I would say, no, all children are equal, all decisions are equal, yeah? The reason why this was an issue was that some of the teachers wanted their lessons at certain times, yeah? And I would say, no, the important thing is not that your lessons are at certain times, like on Friday afternoon or on Monday morning, whatever. I sacrifice all that for the right of the child to have a lesson. And so some teachers were not happy with me.
Anyway, the fact that someone doesn't follow many lessons has no consequence.
No.
In any case.
No.
Even
if
it doesn't.
It has no consequence. What would have a consequence is if I'm the science teacher, I have a group of 4 children and I teach them twice a week and they don't come. then there are 2 lessons there that I could be giving to others. So if they don't come for 3 or 4 weeks, I can then say, look, you're not coming. I'm going to give that lesson to other children that might come. But if you then decide to come, then we can change it. But at the moment, you're not coming. So if a group doesn't come, then they could lose their lesson if they don't come for like a 2, 3 weeks. Yeah. But that's so that the teacher's is not doing nothing. And there are children who actually do like going to lessons, and if they had the opportunity, they may want more lessons than they can have. In fact, that's one of the problems at the moment, is that there are a number of children who love lessons, and in a sense, they would, if as soon as they find a teacher without lessons, they say, "Oh, I'll have that lesson. Oh, I want," And he'd say, "Oh, okay, yeah." So there's a very positive attitude to lessons at the moment, which is
Follow the lesson doesn't change depending on the age. It can happen at any age that they don't follow any lessons.
Yeah, they tend to follow more lessons when they get older, and it's to do with exams. Yeah. So and especially if they want to, when they leave Summerhill, they want to go to college or university.
Well, sure.
Then they need the exams.
The last years.
The last year. So and then they tend to go a lot more than they would at other ages. I mean, Neil used to call a certain age the gangster age, which is like the 11, 12-year-olds. And they're house kids in the house, sort of 11, 12. And especially the boys. And he didn't really expect them to go at all. He thought, they'd be playing in the woods and playing gangsters.
All the children go to the state exams.
Most of them choose to do state exams, yes. Yeah, and when we employ teachers, we expect people to be able to teach for the exam. So it's an important point. I mean, there are 2 reasons why we employ teachers. One is to teach for the exam, and 2 is that they love Summerhill. So, sure. And they're equal in a way. Well, not equal, but they're both necessary because we need the children to be able to make choices when they leave Summerhill. Sure. And it's sad that Britain is based on exams, and it's got worse. Nowadays, I would say more children are doing more exams at Summerhill than they did in the past, because the whole culture of England has become far more exams, and it's very sad.
Mm. But, do you have a training period for the new teachers? Or
we have a training period which is a term. I think it's a term. It might be a year. I think it's a term. Each new teacher has a mentor, and there is a guide. There's a document on how to mentor, and this is quite new. We've had problems in the past with because teachers are very autonomous. You are the only science teacher in Summerhill if you're the science teacher, or you're the only English teacher, or you're the only maths teacher. So the whole of English is just one person, or the whole of maths. And it means they have a lot of responsibility and a lot of power over what they teach and how they teach it. And that's caused problems in the past sometimes. And mentoring the teachers ensures that continuity from one teacher to another, at least at the beginning. Because the worst thing that we've had people who have very strong beliefs about how to teach, and they ignore what the last teacher did, and then that doesn't help in terms of the children who've already done a year with the previous teacher, and then suddenly the new teacher has totally different. If they're slightly different, fine, yeah. And the teachers can once they've started and they've done a year, because they've got to take responsibility for kids doing exams. That if they continue for at least the first year with the exam groups as the previous teacher, and then they slowly change what they want to change, then they take control. And that's what we try.
Do you have difficulties in finding new teachers?
Yeah, always. We're very popular with applicants. We have a lot of people applying normally. It's just a question that when they see the conditions and the wages, well, the conditions really, a lot of applicants withdraw. They decide not to come, even when they get interviewed. because it is it's quite a dedicated job. I mean, to live on site, to live as part of the community, and also to take responsibility to be the only English teacher or maths teacher, especially if you're newly qualified. And a lot of the applicants are young teachers just out of college. They're quite scared by the fact that they will be they have no department, no colleagues who can support them, no head of department who will oversee them. So I think they and also the lack of privacy. Living in the community, there's this big issue about privacy, and if they have a girlfriend or boyfriend, or if they're married, it's quite difficult to have a family and work here.
Teachers all live inside the school, or someone live in the village?
Or the full-time teachers are all living in the school apart from one, and that's Stephen, who is unusual. He started off part-time, and he's an ex head teacher. He's worked all his life in primary schools, and he's a wonderful teacher. He's a very, very good teacher who knows how to help motivate and how to develop skills of learning. He's very good. He's become full-time, but he's a local, and that's very unusual. Yeah, he's a very unusual man. But everyone else has to live in the school.
About the meetings that are the core of the school, perhaps.
Yes.
Which are the most focused subjects of discussion? The fightings between children, or rules, or...
Good question. We used to, the meetings have changed. The meetings changed like in different ways. I mean, over the last 20 years. So it's a long time. But they've changed because we used to have tribunal meetings, separate from general meetings. So we would have one meeting a week was a tribunal, and every case to do with behaviour problems or stealing or name calling or anything would go to the tribunal. So you go to the tribunal knowing it's about personal issues and people going. And then the general meeting would be about the law and about changes in the law and things like that. Now they're together, and I don't know, they've been together for quite a few years now. And they used to be separate within the meeting. So you'd have the tribunal as the general meeting at the beginning, and the tribunal as the second half of the meeting. And then I think I proposed it. I proposed about 2 years ago that we mix the cases. So the case could be a tribunal case or a general case, and they're all mixed. So the whole meeting, you have a general case about the law, then a tribunal case, and then a tribunal case, and a general case. And it's very strange. You don't know what's going to happen. So that's one of the differences. And I think it'll be interesting to ask Zoe if that's made a difference. Because when you go to the meeting, you're chopping from one to the other. I don't know.
Choose some example of the most interesting discussions.
The social space of the school is when it's nice, is outside. And there was a bench, and it was outside one of the classrooms, and the teacher who put it there, it was their classroom, and so the kids would sit on the bench and they'd chat away, and the teacher would join them and things. Now that's great, yeah. But when there's a lesson going on in the classroom next door, and they want quiet and they want to focus, then there's this group of kids and adults chatting and laughing away just outside the window. So there was a very big stress between the teacher who put the chair there and the teacher who didn't, who wanted a quiet classroom. So it was brought to the meeting, and it was a big discussion in the meeting. And there was laws about during lesson time, you could use the bench, you could sit there, but you couldn't make noise. But how do you control the noise of a passionate conversation? Yeah. So it was an ongoing issue, and one teacher refused to teach. He said, "Look, I'm not going to teach in this classroom. If this noise is there, I'm not going to go out and tell them to shut up. It's not my responsibility. I'm a teacher. My responsibility is to be in the classroom and to teach. I'm not going to go out there. If you keep on making noises, I'm not going to teach. I'm not going to." And she said that. It's like, whoa, yeah. It's like, well, you're paid to teach. You're responsible for teaching. I don't know. It was a bit of like emotional blackmail by this teacher. And then, so, yeah, it was a big... And there were proposals to move the bench. There was proposals to move it so that it would be somewhere away from the classrooms. There was a lot of trying to control the noise. And in the end, it was like a balance. The teacher had to keep on. Had to keep on going out there and saying, "Shut up," or "I'll bring you up." Yeah, and then they would be quiet, and then the teacher would go back in, and it slowly happened that because even adults would be brought up because it's good to chat. Mm. But that was an interesting case in terms of the classroom and outside the classroom, and the right to talk, but the right to be in a classroom and learn and not be disturbed. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it happened that children put in discussion some teacher.
I've been brought up. Well, I brought up a teacher. I did. I brought up a teacher. This is some time ago. There was a teacher, an English teacher, who liked academic. They liked Shakespeare. They loved Shakespeare, and they were brilliant. And so the older children loved this teacher. He was a very charming man. Very funny, very intelligent, but he hated teaching basic English. So he hated teaching spelling. He hated teaching general writing. Yeah, he wanted the analysis and the poetry and things. So and he tended to miss lessons. He wouldn't turn up for lessons. So there was one time when me and Zoe were chatting near his classroom, and we were chatting. It was the bell had rang, so the lesson bell had gone. And one of his students who were waiting for a class came out of the classroom because he wasn't there, came towards us and started chatting to us. And one of the girls was nearly crying because she was saying, "Look, I've got exams, and he hasn't turned up again." Yeah, this teacher, she said that he hadn't turned up for the last lesson, that she's got exams. The exams weren't academic exams; they were for foreign language. English is a foreign language to him. Yeah, but then I thought, I talked to the student later, and I said, "Are you going to bring him up?" Because no teacher, if a teacher doesn't turn up for a lesson, they're not doing their job, and the kids can bring them up for not doing their job. And he was so well liked, and she was so upset, she didn't want to bring him up. And I said, no. I said, we should vote. So I took his job. I went to Zoe and said, look, at the moment I was a house parent. I said there was another job going of being a house parent. Yeah, I said, look, give him this house parent job because he's great with the kids. The kids like him. He wants to be here. He wants to work. I said, give him a house parent job, and I will take over the English job for one term, whilst you look for a good English teacher.
Yeah, is there someone who prepared the meeting before, or
no.
is it just a surprise?
The meetings
proposed it.
No, the meetings. The secretary, you'll see this tomorrow. The secretary sits in the room about 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the meeting starts, and there's a queue. People queue up, and she'll write down.
Like that.
So there's a queue, and
just before.
Just before, and you say to the secretary, "I want 3 cases. I want 1 announcement and 3 cases." And she'll ask you, have you got cases against any little children? Because all the cases against the little children go first. So she'll check which cases. So she'll put in order any little child that wants a case, those go first, and any case against one of the littlest children, they're all taken first. So all the cases to do with the youngest children, so they don't have to stay the whole meeting. I mean, they do tend to stay the whole meeting, but they have a choice of going or not. Yeah, which is quite cute. But you don't know. Sometimes people will if you're being brought up, So if I'm bringing someone, I tell them, I say, look, I'm bringing you up for hitting me or for calling me names. And then you remind them on the day. Say, look, today I'm bringing you up at a meeting. Because you have to be there. If you're being brought up, then you should go to the meeting.
And even the adults, can propose things during the meeting?
Oh yeah, no, we're equal. So last meeting I proposed that the curtains of all the bedrooms, that they're open in the morning, so that people can check if people are in bed or not, or if they're on their computers. There's a law that you cannot be in bed after 8:30 until 12. I think until 12 you can't be in bed unless you're ill. And at the moment they can close their curtains, and I think that's not very good. And I propose that they have to open their curtains, and it got dropped. So they still can close their curtains.
They didn't accept.
No, they didn't accept. Even though the law used to be that they had to open their curtains, and I thought it should go back to that, because it makes we elect children as sort of police officers for the bedtimes. They're called beddies officers.
Yes.
And they patrol. They go around the school checking if people break the law. Now, how can you check if someone's in bed if you can't see through their window? I don't know.
Sure. So you are still here since 20 years?
I went away for 5.5. I went away for 5.5 years.
And did you find it changing in the kind of children that came here?
Yeah. When I arrived, there was a lot more children with problems of violence.
Of violence?
Yeah. And nowadays we don't tend to take children who are violent.
But
in the past we used to.
Which is the main motivation of the families to bring children here?
I think there's probably 3 different ones. One is to take their children away from being bullied.
From being?
Bullied. From being victims. So we have special needs children who feel victimised by their schools, not by by other children, but also by the teachers and by the system.
Mm.
So they hate being measured, they hate being labelled, they hate being defined as different. So they come here as a haven, as protection. You get children who want to come here, who've read the books, or their parents have given them the books. And sometimes we've had children who are like 8 and they just come across the book. In Korea, there was a Korean girl who said to her parents, "Look, I've read this book." The parents didn't give it to her. I don't know how she found it in a bookshop. She just found it, and she read it, and she said, "I want to go there." And the parents took her.
She was how old?
She was 8.
8 years old?
Yeah, she chose, and it was a different country, a different continent, and she persuaded her parents to come here. So that's quite unusual. But it has happened over the years. It has happened. It's happened because either the parents have it in their library, but with this girl, it wasn't even in her parents' home. It was something she had picked up at the bookshop. I think. I don't know. So sometimes children choose. Most of the time, it's the parents who believe in the school and want their children.
But you feel parents suffering when they leave the children here, or?
I think it's difficult. I think it's very challenging to be a parent of a child here. Yeah. I think that especially when they send their children when they're 5, 6, 7, 8. Most 5-year-olds are day kids, and most 6-year-olds at the moment are day kids. So the parents come and they'll stay locally for maybe a year or 2 years, at least during the term time, and the child will be a day kid. So they rent a house or rent a flat, and then then most of the time the parents will go home, and the kids been at school for 2 years as a day kid. They live at the school eventually, and then the parent goes back to their home country, and the child becomes a full boarder. So normally the children become boarders. They live at the school, but at the very beginning, if they're very young, and sometimes the parents will come across here, and either one of the parents or the mother will come across, and so that's happening now.
Nowadays, the majority is from abroad. No?
Yeah, I think it's been the case for a long time. It's that over half the schools from abroad. I think ever since I've been here, that's the case. Yeah, but it's from different countries. Like at one point, they were mainly Japanese. I think in the 70s they were Japanese. Nowadays they're sort of Korean, Chinese,
States. They come from
Taiwanese.
States?
In the 60s, the States, not now.
Not now.
I think partly because the States have their own schools now, like Sudbury Valley and things. So there's a lot more choice in the States. So I think but in the 60s we were very famous because of
And from European countries?
Yeah, from all European countries. Yeah. Germany, we get a lot. France, a few. Sort of Spain.
Have you ever had someone from Italy?
Yes, but I think I've known 3 boys, normally boys, and they've all failed in the sense of they've all been they failed in the sense that they've been taken out of the school by the mothers.
They didn't stay.
No, what the only one that nearly stayed was the mother came with the child. The mother worked locally as in sort of bed and breakfast and things, but she couldn't. Her language. If she had more English, it would have worked. Her level of English was so poor that she couldn't get very good paid work, and she was very close to the son. I mean, it was her only son, I think, and she was separated from the husband.
Mm.
So, and close to working. The other two, the children came here. The mothers were still in Italy. They would phone every day, and the sons wouldn't want to answer the phone. They would phone. There's a public pay phone in the dining room with a little private booth.
Yeah.
And that phone would ring, and one of the kids would answer it, and they say, "Oh yeah, you want I don't know who." And they'd say, "Oh, hold on, I'll go and get them." And they'd run off, find them, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, hey, your mum's on the phone," and they'd say, "No, I don't want to talk to her. No, I'm too busy." And they go back to the phone and say, "I'm afraid, he's too busy, can't phone." And the mother would not believe. So the mother would then phone the office and say, "I cannot get to my son, and would blame the school, and then wouldn't trust her son, and would say, a school where she cannot contact her son, she was not happy as a mother, so she took them away." I think the Italian family is and the Italian mother is so strong that the Italians wouldn't survive it because of the mothers.
It's strange that they came here. Now you're having new problems with the state, with the bureaucracy,
big problems,
roles, and so.
Yeah, no, we had a wonderful since 1999 beautiful relationship with the state because we won the court case in 2000. We won a court case, and we were the most protected school in the country in terms of inspections. But now the government and the Department for Education have ripped up the court agreement, so we are no longer protected, and the Chief Inspector of Schools is very hostile to schools that don't see exams as the important thing about education. So we are waiting to see whether we will be inspected, and if we are inspected, we think that they will attack us. There is less space now for Summerhill than there was in 1999. Okay. Our government has become more intolerant of diversity in schools. They claim they want diversity, but the range of diversity, you're okay as a school to be different, but you must think exams are all important. Children have to have a right to do well in exams.
On the other side, I think visitors are increasing. They come from everywhere. They would like to visit the school.
Yeah. We had 20 head teachers from China.
Yes,
2 days ago.
Just yesterday.
Or yesterday, from China, from Beijing.
But I mean, this is increasing.
Yeah. I know. Every part of the world thinks we're important apart from England.
Apart from England.
Well, apart from the government. I mean, even England. The teacher trainers, they come, the students come, the professors come, but not the English government.
Profeta in patria.
None of the politicians. Sorry?
Nemo profeta in patria.
Yeah, you are never. In your own country.
Prophet in your country. You know?
Yes,
It's incredible, but
but the thing about one thing about Neil and Summerhill is that from the very beginning, it's interesting. From the very beginning, that partly because of the climate in which Summerhill was created in a climate where people like Neil were in power. Yeah, people like Neil, not quite as extreme as Neil, but people who believed in liberating the child were running the universities, the teacher training colleges. They were the head teachers of schools. They were the inspectors of schools, were supporting liberating the child. And this is from 1914 until the 1940s. And so, if you read the Education Acts of 1918, 1919, there's an Education Act called the Continuation Act. It's progressive. It's for children to learn creatively by doing, not by books, by learning together. It's about citizenship and community. Very, very progressive. And the 1945 Act is about lifelong learning. It's about what's the point of schools, according to the 1945 Act. The point of schools is to create people who want to learn and who are active citizens in their communities. And do they do that? No. Does Summerhill do that? Yes. Yeah. And so Neil always, and Summerhill, had support from incredibly different areas of society in England. Yeah. Including, in the sense, not newspapers, but the TV. If you look at Neil on television, the way he's presented is very respected on most television. Yeah, even in the 40s, they did a Pathé News, black and white Pathé News thing for the cinemas, and it's a very positive portrayal of Summerhill. It says possibly the happiest school in the world, and that's the news. So I think because of who Neil was, the way he wrote, and also the philosophy of education at the time, meant that he was respected. He was seen as someone to learn from. Yeah, in 1948, he writes in his own book, he quotes the inspector's school in 1948. The inspectors said, every educationalist, every person interested in education should visit this school. That was inspectors. They're the very people who want to close us down now. But in 1948, they would say, come and learn from Summerhill. So he wasn't an outsider. He wasn't. I mean, in a sense, there is a sense of him always being an outsider. But in terms of
Sure.
the progressive nature of education in England, he was highly respected. So it's only now he's the outsider. Now he's the eccentric. Now, let's go to Summerhill because it's like going to a zoo kind of thing. Yeah, it's interesting, but it's not important. It's not relevant. Yeah, and that's today, and it's really sad. For me, the beauty of Summerhill and to do with the meeting things is not only about the children making decisions, but it's about the authority of those decisions, and it's about issues like morality. How does a human being become a moral animal? Yeah, and for me, the beauty of being a human being, in a sense, is I think we learn to become a moral being. That through empathy and through community living and by making decisions, we learn what is right and wrong. But most doctrines and dogmas are not that. Most of them are, you need authority, you need the policeman, you need the God, you need the father, you need the head teacher to tell you what is right and wrong. Yeah, and so I think one of the most beautiful things about Summerhill is that children are learning what is right and wrong through talking about it, through making decisions about it, and none of those, in a sense, and if anyone is an authority, it's the community, it's us, all of us together. Children are part of the authority of making decisions about what is right and wrong, and to me, that is how we create just communities. Because for me, the child that learns through an authority figure is learning obedience. And if you learn obedience, it can be obedience to any moral law or any moral code. And that's how we have wars and how we have conflicts, is that if you obey with no sense of ownership and understanding of what you're obeying, and in a sense, no consent, you haven't rationally consented to it, then I think that's why we live in such a terrible world in terms of the problems around. And one of the beauties of Summerhill is, I think, that our children become moral human beings who own their own morality.
So these ideas come from far away.
These are not new ideas.
Forget.
These are, and they are, and even in 1914 and 1915 and 1916, there were state school, not Neil, there were state school teachers from London, women, who were working in elementary schools in inner city London. And one of them said, why am I a teacher? If all I'm doing is teaching so that we can have better soldiers, so that we can have better weapons, what is the point of education? Yeah. And her belief was the point is to make a peaceful, just world. And to do that, and this is a state school teacher, she said we have to liberate the child. We have to ensure that the child is free to make their own decisions and learn who they are and who they want to be.